Acorns made it possible for people to become an investor in 5 minutes. We focus a lot on making it feel accessible so that you feel like I can do it.
Lydia Moynihan here, speaking with Noah Kerner, the CEO of Acorns, the mobile app that lets you automatically invest small amounts of money by rounding up your debit or credit card purchases to the nearest dollar and investing the difference. Noah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You are a lifelong New Yorker, actually. You were born and raised in the East Village. Here you are.
Yep.
What's kept you here in this crazy city?
I mean, New York City definitely raised me. I tell my friends, my parents raised me, but New York City was my second or third parent. And I just loved growing up here. I love the energy. I love the dynamism. I love the kind of different cultures, the coolness. Like when I grew up, there was so much art and music and eccentricity and different types of characters. It was a cool place to grow up. Mm-hmm. And so it really sort of formed, and you obviously your parents raise you a certain way inside the house, and then you go out into the crazy city and you're confronted by everything. Big buildings, wild people, getting punched in the face on the street as a kid, growing up,
that
getting
happened
robbed.
to you?
Oh yeah. But that was part of the overall experience of growing up here. And I think to some degree, you grow up learning humility. You certainly grow up learning curiosity. You learn to be courageous because you're confronted by so much. You have to, So the city raised me.
You did go to public school, and then in the evenings you were doing tennis with a lot of posh kids. And you kind of addressed that may have sort of inspired you to want to do more to help lower privileged people and to sort of close the gap of wealth inequality.
Yeah. That was a really fundamental part of growing up in the city, going to public schools until high school, and then at night playing. My father got me into tennis when I was very young, so I started playing tournaments, and so I was playing with these kids at night who came from wealthy families, and that dichotomy was very formative. Like it really. I didn't realize this as a kid, but it was really instructive in terms of how I thought and the things I saw and understanding. As a kid, you pick up everything. Mm-hmm. So you see those nuances and the differences, and those become part of your psychology. And I think, when I was older, like reflecting back on why I ended up doing some of the things I've done, I felt that was very connected to choices, to life choices, work choices.
Because a lot of people come out of college and they want to get the job at the investment bank or consulting, and you chose a very different path. So was that sort of an inspiration to start Acorns?
Well, there was kind of three professional chapters. The first one was more of a creative chapter. So I was 13, 14, surrounded by hip hop culture. I loved watching DJs and the beats of hip hop. And so I got turntables when I was really young and started DJing hip hop nightclubs and things like this in the city really young as a teenager. And that, that was like the first leg of my career. Right out of college, I got into what I think of as more creative businesses. So I did a hip hop business, I did a creative agency, a music agency, and it was really like around 30 where I got hit by that heavy feeling of you should add more value to society more broadly. Like before that, it felt very much about things I was passionate about, and then it shifted to passion outside and passion for others.
Sort of a natural evolution maybe as you grow up.
Yeah, but that, so there was that gap where I was definitely much more, I would say focused on what was important to me.
I do want to talk about that gap because I know you had some memorable moments there. I think you DJ'd for J-Lo.
I did.
Tell us about that.
I worked with a lot of artists. I mean, we went from nightclubs and things like that, scratching on video game soundtracks and brands, and then opening for hip hop artists, and then Jennifer Lopez was more of a touring thing like we did. I was in the band. So people always say, like, what does that mean? You DJ'd for...
Right.
So she had a drummer, a percussionist, a guitar player. I was like in the band, and essentially there would be like a 16-bar set where I would scratch over and the dancers were dancing. And so it was kind of like, if you think about it, like it's another set of percussion instruments. Mm-hmm. And that was always the way I approached DJing in my world is not putting on a record, turning knobs and like pumping your fists. It's cutting, beat juggling,
yep,
making new sounds out of existing sounds. I tried to approach it really artistically, like and learning from battle DJs. And so that was what it meant to DJ for her, and I did that with some other artists, and so.
It sort of feels like a very Renaissance man thing too. I know you also wrote a book. You got to interview, I think, 100 people for that, and you did it with the co-founder of Barney's. How did that come about?
Yeah, I had two companies, or I had one company at the time. It was an agency called Noise that was serving all kinds of brands and companies. Our thing was trying to help make simpler, better products and marketing campaigns for young adults. So that was our thing. And I was working with all these corporations, and I was confronted a lot of times by this idea of like, how do we make this thing, or this question, how do we make this thing cool? Oftentimes it was way after the fact. And it just like felt like corporate America in many instances is sort of incessantly chasing this elusive idea of cool. And
probably the 50-year-old in the boardroom is not going to figure it out.
Well, the sort of like thesis was, if you're looking left and right for your idea of what cool is, you're not going to catch it. And in essence, if you're chasing it, you're not going to catch it. The way it was created in the various ways it's been created by different people is by pursuing authentically your own vision. And then maybe it'll happen. But it's not something where you ask a question and then get an answer from an agency.
So can some people not be cool? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I think cool is all relative. You know, like there's no objective definition. It's like, this group of people thinks this person or thing is cool, so that's cool. And I think that imbues a sense of desire. It's like somehow it's desirous. The guy I wrote it with, who had run Barney's and did a lot to evolve, you know, the Barney's brand, was actually one of the first people I went to interview for it. And
Interesting.
He rightfully, I was very young to be writing a business book, but of course like had no idea that I was too young to be writing a business book. And his advice to me was like, if you go about this yourself, so he was very helpful in guiding.
So he just jumped on as your co-author.
Yeah. But very helpful in guiding sort of some of the direction and content and, you know, what not to say.
Who were some of the coolest people you interviewed?
We interviewed everyone from Clive Davis to Tom Ford to Julian Schnabel to the founder of Woodstock to the founder of MTV. You know, just these kinds of DJ Premier from the hip hop world, who in my opinion is one of the greats. So a lot of these people who create, and we just interviewed them mostly on their creative process, how they think, how they approach problems, how they approach building products, companies, this kind of thing. I was just like, one of the pieces of advice and lines that stick out to me is, when you become Goliath, you always have to think and behave like David. And I was just talking to my company about this idea. It's not that we're a Goliath yet, but we're certainly more of a Goliath. We've made it a lot farther than a lot of startups make, you know, and we have millions of customers in this, but the point is, no matter how big you get, you always have to think and behave like David. You always have to feel small and remember that nothing is given, nothing is guaranteed, and everything can be taken away. So operate with a certain restlessness and a relentlessness and a healthy dose of paranoia.
Are you paranoid, would you say?
Totally. I mean, I'm aware at all times that things can be taken away. And that goes back to growing up in New York City, where it's like, you know, you turn around and it's like, you'll run your bus pass.
Yeah.
Or you turn around and it's, right? So
people are out to get you. Sometimes the voices in your head have some merit.
I feel like I can often tell if someone's never been punched in the face. That's a thing you get from growing up in the city. And it could be as metaphor, right? Like, have you been confronted by extreme adversity?
Yeah.
Which is humbling.
It is. No, I mean, it toughens you for sure. And you face that in New York in a way that you don't face in a lot of suburbs. You can easily drive anywhere, and
yeah, there's some gritty suburbs.
There are. No, that's fair. So, okay, Acorns was not your first company. So you were sharing some of the other companies that you worked on, and then tell us how you got to Acorns, what you wanted to accomplish with it. Like
I was saying, around 30, 31, somewhere around there, you know, I got hit by that, I'm gonna say, sort of crisis of conscience. You know, like, I wanna work on things that add value. I wanna work on things that are furthering society in some way, shape, or form. And I try to keep that all in context of like, like I'm not going to change the world by myself, but there's if you're doing the work and you're putting in the work and your focus is on making society better, that's a good thing. So that was the connection to Acorns, which is, in our world, how do you make the responsible tools of wealth making that have been afforded to people who have a lot of money available to everybody else? And if you don't do that, if everybody else isn't benefiting from compounding, if they're not investing their money and they just have their money in cash or some like low yielding savings account, you're not going to grow your money. So that was really the central idea. And so now we've gotten millions of people benefiting from the power of compounding. We have this screen in the app, which is my favorite screen in the app, called the potential screen. And it's about your potential as an investor and in some ways as a person. And it shows what your money can grow into over 40 years in a really nice, kind of beautiful visual. At an emotional level, the product is about potential, and it is about giving people hope who may not have had that kind of hope before.
Yeah. And I mean, you were doing this quite a while ago. Now I feel like there's a lot of apps in this space, but you were doing this over a decade ago when this was kind of new. Do you think people were receptive to the idea then?
Yeah, I think yes, but of course increasingly so as mobile apps proliferated, as people got more comfortable with sharing information, as all these sort of trends have converged, I think more and more. But it was very early on. We started with this feature, round up and invest a spare change, and that was something everybody could understand.
Right.
Because everybody has spare change. Everybody understands that it's a small amount, and so if you could just invest tiny amounts like spare change, I can sort of sink my teeth into that. And we tried to make it, and I think we did a pretty good job of making it really simple to do it. So, come up with an idea that people can relate to, and of course make it incredibly easy for them to start engaging with it. Like Acorns made it possible for people to become an investor in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was not a thing.
Yeah.
And then reduced so much friction from the price to the complexity to understanding to just the way it feels. We focus a lot on making it feel accessible so that you feel like I can do it too.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's normally such a barrier to entry. And it's interesting because it seems like products often that target the average person just aren't as exciting. You don't see as much innovation in that space where you see like hedge funds figuring out the next algorithm. What do you think is next in this space as you think about helping people invest? Do you think there's a next sort of step that you want to be taking?
Yeah, what I think is next is what we're doing. So it's an easy answer. I think there's sort of three things that I think are next. One is a path we've been on in terms of expanding from serving just the individual consumer to the family. And that started with the idea that money is really a family affair. Why isn't there a solution in this category for the family that does a really nice job of serving parents, kids, couples, and all the connections in between?
Yeah.
Think about it like the Disney of money in a sense, like family friendly for everybody involved.
Oh, interesting.
So that's one space that I'm really excited about that we've been pursuing for a long time. We started it with an investing product that made it really easy for parents to invest in kids. And now we have Acorns Early, which is a whole product for kids and parents to connect. Kids get an allowance card. Parents can reward the kids for doing chores. When kids get the money, they can decide, should I spend it? Should I save it? Should I give it? Ultimately, should I invest it? So kids at a very early age start to understand these trade-offs and decisions and start to get smarter with money. So that, I'm really excited about that. So the family space is one. We have certain products that exist outside of investing, but the other space is there are too many financial services companies and people have too little time. And so the next feature we're building is called Money Manager. And that is a product that will allow people to holistically manage their money. So automatically saving for emergencies, investing for retirement, spending smarter, paying down your debt, and giving a little bit, and doing it in a way where when you add the money to Acorns, we auto-allocate money across these products for you.
Yeah.
And as we get to know you better, we do it more effectively for you. So the idea of a holistic money manager just doesn't exist for people.
Yeah, I mean, these are tools it seems like the ultra rich have access to.
Actually,
the average person
Yeah, the average, but actually there is
hasn't.
there is no holistic money manager for almost anybody, at least not in a product form. And what are the problems that this solves? One, most everybody doesn't know what products they actually need. Like, do you know that you should be saving for an emergency? Do you know that you should be saving for retirement in a retirement account? Et cetera. So we automatically set the products up for you. And then, myself included, basically nobody knows how much should go where and when, right? Like, how much do I put in my emergency savings account?
Yeah.
How much should go into it? So we auto allocate money for you. And so that idea of a holistic money manager in a time where people have less time and there's more options, too much information, too many apps, like simplicity is always going to be the thing that you have to come back to. And the third, of course, if I wasn't talking about AI, I sound like an idiot. But we didn't just I think we're not just approaching AI from the perspective of you have to do AI because it's like the thing,
Everyone's talking about it.
Right.
You've got to jump on the bandwagon.
We've always focused on making sure our customers are as educated as possible. That's been like foundational pillar of Acorns. And what AI in our world will help us do better is instantly educate people reactively. So if you have a question, we can instantly answer it. And then proactively, if we have a suggestion for you that could make your experience managing your money better, we will suggest that for you. And the more we know about you, of course with your permission, the more effectively we can respond reactively and proactively. And so we're approaching the idea of making people smarter with their money through the lens of artificial intelligence. And so those are the three areas I think are most exciting and the biggest opportunities. And the cool thing about thinking about it and also having a company and building products is you can also do it, which is more rewarding.
Do you think this replaces a traditional bank, a consumer bank?
I don't think Chase is going anywhere anytime soon, if ever. I think the big companies are well established. With our money manager feature, we are very much trying to serve the customer holistically. So I hope and believe we will create a better experience if we deliver more value to the customer. Then we will have the right to serve the customer most effectively. And it's a right, and it's back to it's not given. You have to earn it. So I don't think the big banks are going anywhere. But I think if we move faster, if we continue to deliver great product and great experiences, we can serve customers more and more holistically. And by the way, in fairness, because our customer is the everyday person in the middle class, a lot of people think Acorns is a beginner product.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a product for everyday people that helps them save and invest small amounts of money, in large part because that's what most people have to spare, small amounts of money.
Right.
So we're not like a beginner product. We're a product for the middle class. We're a product for the rest of America.
Yeah, but giving them access and encouraging that kind of behavior. It almost feels like sort of the opposite of Robinhood, where Robinhood sort of gamified what were sometimes bad bets. And here it's like you're trying to incentivize and use these, apps are addicting. So you're trying to use these tools to actually help people save.
If you look at Acorns, I always tell people you can tell as much about us by what we offer as by what we don't offer. And we don't offer stock trading. We don't offer cryptocurrency trading. We don't offer credit cards. We don't offer loans. We do not do, we help people save.
Those are the products that make a lot of money too.
The products that make the most money are the products that Acorns doesn't offer. And we've had to build a business the hard way, built around how do you help everyday people save and invest as much money as possible for the long term. Our model is subscription, which I also am a real big fan of in a category where when you talk to consumers, they say, how do these companies make money? And why did I find out about it on the sixth screen after seeing it in a footnote, or finding out that you charged me for something and I had no idea? What I like about subscription is here's what it costs, here's what you get. If you sign up, you're subscribing, you can cancel anytime, right? So I think it's a really nice model for. It's transparent and it's simple and it's a nice model against the backdrop of an industry that often gets blamed, rightfully so, for hiding, obfuscating.
Right. And then digging you with fees and kind of going after you. And we see that happen with credit cards so much. So is that something you would ever consider in the future?
No.
Especially as crypto comes more mainstream?
No. The only thing we contemplate is it all comes back to the consumer. So what is important for an everyday person? Building credit is important. So we contemplate things that are important for people to live a good, healthy financial life. Our thing is about financial wellness. Saving and investing enough money so that you can live life well.
Yeah.
Helping someone building credit obviously allows you to do a lot of things, but no, we will not offer a credit card.
Have your investors pushed you to explore that or explore stock trading, crypto trading?
Investors want to make returns on their money. I think that's I think you have to be eyes wide open about that reality. But certainly our investors have gotten behind Acorns knowing what we are, knowing what our long-term vision is, knowing what our mission is, knowing what our values are, and knowing that I'm immovable and unshakable in these in the integrity of trying to do the right thing at all costs. And I like to say we're a growth company, not a grow at all costs company. I think people buy into the fact that you can build a really great long-term business by doing the right thing and serving the customer, and saving and investing is such an important activity. So it's really just, as soon as a customer starts using it and benefits from it, it's really valuable. So I think there's alignment on that.
I mean, it's kind of rare for a fintech product to be around this long and not have come under scrutiny the way that so many others have. So I think that says something.
Well,
you haven't been called in front of the SEC 10 times or Congress to testify.
No, I haven't. I think that there's all this controversy about regulations right now, but I would say we think like a regulator from the perspective of protecting the consumer. In our building, in our company, the consumer's interest is first, and that's how it should be. That's how every company should be.
What do you think, though? Because it seems like the financial health of the average American has not improved, maybe deteriorated. I know there's more credit card debt, I believe, than ever before. Do you see Americans having more financial wellness in their life? Do you see the average person's finances changing potentially?
It's a really tough time. For a long time, obviously, things have changed a little bit in the near term, but middle class wages have shrunk, and obviously there's a lot of problems from inflation to debt. So we're in the business of trying to help people save and invest as much money as possible, trying to help everyday people do that, and that's my and our definition of financial wellness. Like, have you saved and invested enough so you can live life well? And I think we're helping people do that. Do I think we can eradicate the problems? That would be ridiculous. When people speak in these grandiose terms, I don't understand that at all. But I think you should do the work every day to try to help your customers lead better lives. And the fact of the matter is, if you ask the question, what's the most important thing in someone's financial life? My answer is saving money. Not spending money, not trading stocks. Sometimes we have to borrow to get something we can't necessarily afford, but it all comes back to like saving as much money as possible. And the only reason we invest it, because you make better returns.
Right.
Long term, right? Otherwise it would just be savings.
Yeah, you're not storing it under a mattress. But can that be cool?
Putting it in a mattress?
No. Acorns and saving. Can that be cool?
I think it's incredibly cool. What's cooler than saving money? I mean,
Getting return, yeah.
But back to the chasing cool. I mean, the thing is it like it's cool to a lot of people to save money. It's cool to a lot of people to have a comfortable life, to have more confidence, and so I think that's incredibly cool. By the way, we invest the money into diversified portfolios. So you own thousands in stocks. You have exposure to thousands of stocks and bonds, and so it's like our approach to how do we invest the money is to minimize risk and maximize returns as much as possible. But you're not making an average of 10% a year in a savings account. And there's a lot of marketing around about these 4 or 5% APY savings accounts. But in the last 18 months, you would have earned 30% in the S&P, so you lost 25 points if you listened to the marketing and dumped all your money into a savings account.
What about your own financial future? Because you have pretty impressive track record. Are you looking to go public? What does the future of Acorns look like?
Yeah, I mean, our plan has always been to go public, and we don't have a date yet, but it's definitely, I mean, I think staying in control of our destiny is really important, and obviously there's a lot of people who've contributed a lot, especially the team, to the company, and so, you know, getting to a place where our people also do well and achieve financial wellness, more financial wellness, is definitely a goal. So.
Yeah. You mentioned too, just kind of keeping a David mindset as you become more of a Goliath. I mean, are there examples that you've shared? I know you're talking about an all hands meeting, sharing that message, but are there things that you've had to do running this company that sort of exemplify that?
Exemplify?
Having the David mindset.
Oh, I mean, I'm restless all the time. I mean, it's like it sort of exudes out of me. It's like a combination, you know, sometimes people say, oh, Noah's very passionate, but I'm just exceedingly aware of how fragile things are and how fragile any modicum of success is, and how much you have to appreciate and respect it when you've achieved it. Otherwise, you become complacent. Success breeds complacency. Failure drives urgency. So I think, you know, that's definitely a natural, innate quality inside me, that like this recognition of everything can be taken away.
Are there other opportunities you see in the landscape or that excite you right now in the finance industry?
Me and the co-founder of Acorns built another company called Say, actually, which was built on the idea of, well, we're helping people become investors. As an investor, you have the power to vote on the companies in which you own shares. So Say was built around the idea of giving everyday people more of a voice in their shares, giving small shareholders a voice in the things they own. Elon and Tesla were actually the first corporate client. So when he would do earnings calls, he would invite, on top of just talking to institutional shareholders, he would invite all the small shareholders to connect their accounts through Say, and then you could ask questions, vote them up, and he would answer some of the questions from like someone who owned one share of Tesla.
Wow.
So it's kind of like shareholder activism, but from everybody else. So we started that company. It ended up getting acquired, but I thought that was an interesting idea. I do think the family space is really powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and the things that I think are like big opportunities in the category are things we're going after.
That's a wrap on today's episode of NYNext. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also catch us on the New York Post YouTube channel. And of course, be sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates and behind-the-scenes content. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. Join the conversation and let us know what you think.